My name is Ruth. I am a woman who likes quiet. I like clean rooms, soft lights, and nights where nothing strange happens. That is why what happened to me still makes my hands shake when I think about it. Before I tell you how it all began, let me tell you the moment that changed everything. It was past midnight. The house was dark. Everyone else was asleep. I was standing at the top of the basement stairs, holding a small flashlight in one hand and the door handle in the other. My heart was beating so loud I could hear it in my ears. Then I heard it again. Thump, scrape, thump. The sound was coming from the basement. Slow, heavy, like something was moving down there. I took one step down. The light from my flashlight shook across the wall. And then I saw it. Something moved in the dark corner of the basement. Something that should not have been there. I froze. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. What I found there left me terrified. But before I tell you exactly what I saw, let me say this. If you enjoy emotional and scary stories like this one, please take a moment to subscribe, like this video, and turn on your notification bell so you never miss a new story. Also, tell me in the comments which part of the country you are watching from. I really want to know who is here with me tonight. Now listen carefully, because this story is real to me, and it still haunts my sleep. That night did not start as a scary night. It started like any normal day. I live in a quiet house. A small place, old but clean. The basement is under the house, and I do not go there often. I use it only to store old boxes, broken chairs, and things I do not need anymore. That day, I cooked dinner early. I washed the plates. I locked the doors. I turned off the lights. Everything felt normal. Too normal. When I lay down on my bed, I felt tired, but my mind would not rest. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the soft hum of the fan. Then I heard it. Thump. I sat up in bed. At first, I told myself it was nothing. Old houses make noise. Wood shifts. Pipes knock. I lay back down. Then I heard it again. Scrape, scrape. It sounded like something dragging across the floor. My heart started to beat faster. Ruth, I whispered to myself. You are just tired. I reached for my phone and checked the time. 12:17 a.m. The house was silent again. For a moment, I thought maybe I imagined it. Then, bang. The sound came from below me. From the basement. I sat straight up, my breath stuck in my chest. No pipe makes that sound. No wind makes that sound. Something was down there. I got out of bed slowly. My feet touched the cold floor. Every step felt heavy. I listened. Nothing. The silence was worse than the noise. I walked to my bedroom door and opened it a little. The hallway was dark. Too dark. I turned on the hallway light. Still nothing. I told myself to be brave. I told myself I was a grown woman. I told myself there was a simple reason. But deep inside, fear was growing. Then I heard it again. Thump, scrape, thump. Clearer now. Closer. I followed the sound down the hallway. Each step felt like my legs did not belong to me. When I reached the basement door, I stopped. The sound came from behind it. I placed my hand on the door. It was cold. Very cold. I stood there for a long time, listening. Then the sound stopped. I almost turned away. I almost went back to my room. But something inside me said, "You need to see." I grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen drawer. My hands were shaking so much I almost dropped it. I stood at the basement door again. I took a deep breath. Then I opened it. The stairs went down into darkness. The smell hit me first. A damp, old smell, like wet dirt and rust. I turned on the flashlight. The beam of light cut through the dark. Step by step, I went down. Every stair creaked under my weight. Halfway down, I heard breathing. Not mine. Slow. Deep. I stopped moving. The breathing stopped too. I whispered, Hello. No answer. I reached the bottom of the stairs. The basement was bigger than it looked from above. Boxes were stacked along the walls. Shadows moved as my flashlight shook. Then I saw the corner. The darkest corner of the basement. Something was there. At first, I thought it was just boxes. Then it moved. Slowly. The sound came again. Scrape, thump. My heart felt like it would burst. I lifted the flashlight higher. The light fell on the thing in the corner. And that was when I realized. I was not alone in my house. I stepped back. My foot hit something behind me. I almost screamed. The thing in the corner moved again. Closer this time. And just as I understood what I was looking at, the basement light suddenly went out. And I was left standing in complete darkness with whatever was down there with me. The darkness swallowed me. The flashlight went off in my hand, and the basement became quiet and black, like it was holding its breath with me. I could not see anything. I could not even see my own hands. My heart was beating so fast it hurt. My ears rang. My legs felt weak, like they would give up any second. Then I heard it. Breathing. Right in front of me. Slow. Heavy. Close. I wanted to scream, but my throat was tight. No sound came out. I tried to move back, but my foot slipped on something soft. I froze. What is there? I whispered. The breathing stopped. The silence pressed against me. I could feel tears filling my eyes. I told myself to stay calm. I told myself fear would only make things worse. My fingers searched for the flashlight button again. Click. Nothing. I shook it. Click. Still nothing. That was when I heard a soft dragging sound on the floor. Scrape. Scrape. It was moving. Toward me. I stepped back fast and hit the stairs behind me. The wood creaked loudly, and my heart jumped. Then, the basement light turned on. Bright. Sudden. I blinked, my eyes hurting from the light. I looked straight ahead. The corner was empty. Nothing was there. No person. No animal. No shadow. Just old boxes and a broken chair. I stood there, breathing hard, sweat on my face, my chest rising and falling. "Ruth, you are losing your mind," I said out loud. I laughed softly, but it sounded wrong. Nervous. Thin. The breathing was gone. The sound was gone. Everything looked normal. Too normal. I picked up the flashlight and tested it. It worked again. I turned in a slow circle, checking every corner of the basement. Nothing moved. I felt foolish. Angry at myself. I turned to go back upstairs. Then I saw it. A box on the floor. It was not there before. I was sure of it. The box was open, and inside it were things that did not belong to me. A child's shoe. A dirty shirt. And a photo. I picked up the photo with shaking hands. It showed a woman standing in front of my house. She was smiling. But her eyes were dark. And written on the back of the photo were 4 words that made my blood run cold. I am still here. My heart dropped. I had never seen that woman before. And I had never taken that picture. That was when I heard footsteps above me. In my house. Slow. Heavy. Walking across my living room floor. I was still standing in the basement when I realized something terrible. Someone else was upstairs. And whoever it was, knew I was down here. I stood very still at the bottom of the basement stairs. My eyes stayed locked on the steps above me. The footsteps upstairs continued. Slow and calm, like the person walking did not care if I heard them. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the photo. I shoved it back into the box and pushed the box under the broken chair with my foot. I did not know why I did that. Maybe I did not want whoever was upstairs to know what I had found. Or maybe I was just scared. I turned off the basement light. The dark felt safer than being seen. I held my breath and listened. The footsteps stopped. Then I heard something worse. A chair scraping across my living room floor. I covered my mouth with my hand to stop myself from making a sound. My mind raced. Did I lock the doors? Yes. I always did. Did I leave a window open? No. I was sure. My heart told me one thing clearly. This was not a mistake. Someone had been in my basement before tonight. And now they were in my house again. I placed one foot on the first stair and slowly climbed up. Each step creaked, and every sound felt too loud. Halfway up, I heard a voice. A whisper. Soft. Close. Ruth. My blood turned cold. They knew my name. I froze on the stairs, my fingers digging into the wall. Who's there? I whispered back, even though I knew that was a mistake. The whisper came again. Come upstairs. The voice sounded like a woman. Low. Calm. Almost kind. But there was something wrong about it. Something empty. I felt tears fall down my face. I did not move. Then the voice laughed. Not loud. Not mean. Just slow. Don't be scared, it said. You invited me. My stomach twisted. I don't know you, I said, my voice shaking. Yes, you do, the voice replied. You just forgot. The lights upstairs flickered. On. Off. On. My heart pounded so hard I thought I would faint. I forced myself to climb the rest of the stairs. When I reached the top, I peeked into the hallway. It was empty. The living room light was on. The chair near the window was turned over. My front door was still locked. Nothing looked broken. Nothing looked wrong. But I knew better now. I stepped into the living room. The air felt heavy. Cold. I hugged my arms around myself. Hello. I called, louder this time. No answer. Then I saw the wall above my couch. My breath caught. Written in dark, thick lines were words I had never written before. You heard me before you saw me. I stepped back, shaking my head. No, no, I whispered. The TV turned on by itself. Static filled the room. Then a picture appeared. It was a video. Of me. Sleeping in my bed. My heart stopped. The camera angle was from inside my room. From the corner. The date and time were from last night. I watched myself turn in bed. I watched myself breathe. I dropped to my knees. This isn't real, I cried. The screen flickered. The image changed. Now the video showed the basement. The same dark corner. The same broken chair. Something moved into the frame. A shape. Tall. Thin. Its face stayed hidden in the shadows. Then the screen went black. Behind me, I felt warm breath touch my ear. And a voice whispered, "You finally looked." Before I could turn around, a hand grabbed my shoulder. And the lights in the house went out all at once. The house went completely dark. Not a single light. Not even the small red dot from the TV. Everything was black. The hand was still on my shoulder. Cold. Too cold to be human. I screamed. I twisted my body and pulled away with all my strength. I fell forward onto the floor, hitting my elbows hard. Pain shot through my arms, but I did not care. I crawled away, crying and gasping for air. "Don't touch me," I shouted. There was no answer. I pushed myself up and ran, my hands stretched out in front of me, crashing into furniture as I moved. The room felt smaller now, like the walls were closing in. I reached the kitchen doorway and stopped. I could hear my own breathing, loud and broken. Then the lights came back on. All at once. I blinked and looked around. The living room was empty. No one was there. No hand. No shadow. No movement. The couch was where it should be. The table stood straight. The TV was off. Nothing looked disturbed. I leaned against the wall and slid down until I was sitting on the floor. My whole body was shaking. Tears ran down my face, and I could not stop them. "I'm losing my mind," I whispered. But deep inside, I knew that was not true. Something was happening in my house. Something real. I stayed on the kitchen floor for a long time. I do not know how long. Minutes felt like hours. When my breathing finally slowed, I stood up. My legs felt weak, but I forced myself to move. I turned on every light in the house. The hallway. The bathroom. The spare room. Nothing. No one. I checked the doors again. Locked. The windows were closed. No broken glass. No signs of force. That scared me more than anything else. Because it meant whatever was here did not need to break in. I went back to the living room and stared at the wall where the words had been written. They were gone. The wall was clean. I touched it with my fingers. Nothing. No ink. No marks. No scratches. My chest felt tight. Then I remembered the box. The box in the basement. I did not want to go back down there. But I needed answers. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight app. I also put the phone on record, my finger shaking as I pressed the button. "If anything happens to me," I said quietly, "this video will prove I wasn't crazy." I walked to the basement door again. The handle felt colder than before. I opened it. The stairs waited below, just like before. But this time, something was different. The smell was stronger. The air felt thick. Like the basement had been breathing. I stepped down slowly, shining my phone light ahead of me. 1 step. 2 steps. Halfway down, I heard something soft. A sound like crying. I stopped. The sound came again. A child's cry. Low. Weak. "Hello." I called, my voice shaking. The crying stopped. I reached the bottom of the stairs. The basement light flickered on by itself. I flinched. The box was no longer under the chair. It was in the center of the basement. Open. Waiting. I walked toward it, every step heavy with fear. Inside the box were more things now. More than before. A woman's scarf. A man's wallet. A small notebook. I picked up the notebook. My hands shook as I opened it. The first page had a date. 10 years ago. The next pages were filled with writing. Names. Addresses. Notes. My heart dropped when I saw my name. Ruth Harris. Written in thick, dark letters. Under my name were words that made my stomach turn. "She hears US. She is ready." I backed away from the box. "No," I whispered. "This isn't happening." Then I heard the crying again. Closer. This time, it came from behind me. I turned around fast. The basement door at the top of the stairs was closing. Slowly. By itself. I ran. I dropped the notebook and rushed toward the stairs, taking them 2 at a time. "Wait," a voice said. Not loud. Not angry. Sad. I reached the top step just as the door slammed shut in front of me. I grabbed the handle and pulled. It would not move. I banged on the door. "Open it." I screamed. The lights went out again. In the darkness behind me, the crying stopped. And something began to breathe very close to my neck. I slowly turned around. And my phone flashlight died. The darkness came back like a wave. My phone screen went black in my hand, and the last bit of light disappeared. I shook it hard, pressing the button again and again, but nothing happened. The battery was dead. I was trapped. Locked in the basement. With something breathing behind me. I stood very still. So still that my legs began to shake on their own. The breathing was slow and deep, like whoever, or whatever, was behind me did not need to rush. I could feel the air move against the back of my neck. Warm. Wet. I closed my eyes. "This is not real," I whispered. "This is not real." The breathing stopped. For 1 second, I felt hope. Then a voice spoke right next to my ear. You say that every time. I screamed. I spun around and swung my arms, hitting nothing but air. I stumbled backward and fell, landing hard on the cold basement floor. Pain shot through my back, but fear was stronger than pain. I crawled away fast, my hands scraping the floor, my nails breaking. I did not know where I was going. I only knew I had to get away. Please, I cried. Please leave me alone. The basement light flickered. On, off, on. I looked up. Someone was standing near the box. A woman. Tall, thin, pale. Her hair hung down over her face, hiding her eyes. Her dress looked old and dirty, like it had been buried in the ground for years. She tilted her head slowly. You heard us, she said softly. That's how it always starts. I pushed myself back until my shoulders hit the wall. Who are you? I asked, crying. She took one slow step toward me. We lived here, she said. Before you. My heart pounded. There were many of us, she continued. Some stayed. Some left. Some never made it out. I shook my head. No. I would have known. I would have heard something. She smiled. A sad smile. You did, she said. You just didn't listen. The crying started again. This time, I knew where it came from. Behind the boxes. Small. Scared. A child. Please, I begged. If someone is hurt, I can help. The woman's smile faded. You can't help them, she said. That's why they cry. She raised her hand and pointed at me. But you can hear them. The basement light went out again. I screamed and closed my eyes. When the light came back, the woman was gone. The crying was gone. The box was closed. For a moment, everything was quiet. I forced myself to stand up, my body shaking so hard I could barely balance. I walked slowly toward the stairs and placed my hand on the basement door. I pulled. It opened. Fresh air hit my face like a gift. I almost cried with relief. I ran up the stairs and slammed the door shut behind me. I locked it. Then I leaned against it, breathing hard, my heart racing. I'm safe, I whispered. I'm safe. The lights upstairs were on. The house looked normal again. Too normal. I walked into the living room, wiping tears from my face. That was when I heard the sound. Thump, scrape, thump. Not from the basement. From the hallway. From inside my house. I turned slowly. The spare room door was open. I was sure I had closed it earlier. Inside the room, the light was on. And on the floor, something was being dragged toward the doorway. Slowly. Patiently. As I watched in horror, a small hand appeared first. Then an arm. Pulling the rest of a small body behind it. The child lifted its head and looked at me. Its eyes were black. Its mouth opened. And in a voice that did not belong to a child, it said, "She hears us too." The lights went out. And I felt a hand grab my ankle. The hand around my ankle was tight. Too tight. Cold fingers wrapped around my skin like metal. I screamed and kicked with all my strength. My heel hit something hard. The grip loosened for a second, and that was all I needed. I pulled my leg free and crawled backward, screaming and crying, my heart beating so fast it felt like it would explode. The lights were still out. The house was dark again. But I was not alone in the dark. I could hear movement. Not fast. Not loud. Slow movement. Like something was enjoying this. I pushed myself up and ran down the hallway. I did not look back. I did not want to see what was behind me. I reached my bedroom door and slammed it shut. I locked it with shaking hands and pushed my dresser in front of the door. My chest burned as I tried to breathe. Go away, I whispered. Please. Just go away. The silence returned. No footsteps. No breathing. No crying. I stood there for a long time, listening. Then I heard something soft. A tapping sound. Tap, tap, tap. It came from my bedroom window. My body went cold. Slowly, I turned toward it. The curtains moved slightly, even though the window was closed. Tap, tap, tap. My legs felt heavy, but I forced myself to step closer. Each step felt wrong, like I was walking toward something I should not see. "Who's there?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The tapping stopped. I reached out and pulled the curtain back. Nothing. Just darkness outside. I let out a shaky breath and laughed weakly. "I can't do this," I said. "I can't." I turned away from the window and froze. Someone was standing in the corner of my room. Tall. Still. Watching me. I screamed. The lights turned on suddenly, bright and painful. I covered my eyes for a second, and when I looked again, the corner was empty. Nothing. No one. My room looked normal. My bed. My mirror. My clothes on the chair. I ran to the mirror and looked at myself. My face was pale. My eyes were red. My hair was messy. I looked like someone who had not slept in days. "This is in your head," I told myself. "You are tired. You are scared." Then I noticed something on my neck. Finger marks. Dark. Clear. Not mine. Tears fell again. I sat on my bed, hugging my knees, rocking back and forth. I did not know what to do. I did not know who to call. Who would believe me? Then I heard a sound that made my blood freeze. My phone rang. I looked at it on the bed beside me. No caller name. Just an unknown number. My hands shook as I answered. "Hello." At first, there was only static. Then breathing. The same slow breathing from the basement. "Ruth," a voice said softly. I pulled the phone away from my ear, staring at it in horror. "How do you know my name?" I asked. The voice chuckled. "We know everything about you," it said. "We watched you sleep. We watched you listen. What do you want from me?" I cried. There was a pause. Then the voice said something that made my stomach twist. "We want you to open the door." My eyes flew to my bedroom door. Something heavy hit it. Bang. The dresser shook. I screamed and jumped back onto the bed. "Open it," the voice said again. "You already let us in." The banging came again. Cracks formed in the wood of the door. I covered my ears and cried. "I didn't invite you." I shouted. "You heard us," the voice replied calmly. "That's the invitation." The banging stopped. The house went quiet. Too quiet. Then I heard something worse. The sound of the lock turning. Slowly. Carefully. I backed away until my back hit the wall. The door creaked open just a little. A dark shape slid through the gap. Thin fingers wrapped around the doorframe. Then a face appeared. The woman from the basement. Her hair still covered her eyes, but this time she lifted her head. I saw her face. Her eyes were empty holes of darkness. Her mouth stretched into a wide, broken smile. "You belong to the house now," she said. Behind her, more shapes filled the hallway. Tall ones. Small ones. Crying ones. Watching me. The woman took one step into my room. And behind me, the closet door slowly began to open by itself. The closet door creaked open behind me. Slow. Painfully slow. I did not turn around. I was too scared to see what was inside. My eyes stayed on the woman standing in my doorway. Her feet did not touch the floor. She floated just a little above it, like the house itself was holding her up. The shapes behind her filled the hallway. Some were tall and thin. Some were small and bent. Some stood still. Others swayed gently, like they were breathing with the walls. I felt trapped. Like a mouse in a box. "You don't belong here," I whispered, my voice breaking. The woman tilted her head again. "Yes," she said softly. "I do." She lifted her hand and pointed at the bed. At that place, she continued. At that room. At that sound you heard before sleep. My heart dropped. The sound. I remembered it now. Weeks ago. Late at night. A soft thump. A scrape. I had ignored it. I swallowed hard. I didn't know, I said. I swear I didn't know. She drifted closer. The air around her felt heavy, thick like fog. We never do, she replied. Not until it's too late. Behind me, something breathed from inside the closet. Slow. Wet. Close. I slid sideways along the wall, keeping my eyes on the doorway. Please, I begged. If you were once people, then you remember fear. You remember pain. The shapes in the hallway began to whisper. Not loud. All at once. Words mixed together. Crying. Anger. Regret. The woman raised her hand, and the whispers stopped. We remember everything, she said. That's why we can't leave. She reached into her dress and pulled something out. It was the small notebook from the basement. My notebook. I had dropped it there. My chest tightened. How did you? You don't drop things in this house, she interrupted. The house keeps them. She opened the notebook and read aloud. Ruth Harris. She hears us. She looked up. You are different, she said. Most people close their ears. You opened yours. The closet door behind me slammed shut. I screamed and spun around. The closet was quiet. Too quiet. Then I heard scratching. From the inside. Fingernails dragging across wood. My body shook so hard my teeth clicked. The woman stepped fully into my room now. The door behind her closed by itself. The shapes in the hallway stayed there, watching through the crack. You won't hurt me, I said, forcing the words out. You can't. She smiled again. That's what the last woman said. The floor beneath my feet vibrated. The scratching in the closet grew louder. Faster. Angrier. Who was she? I asked, crying. The woman in the picture. The woman's smile faded. She tried to leave, she said quietly. The house doesn't like that. My heart dropped. You killed her, I whispered. No, the woman said. The house did. The bed behind me sank slightly, like someone had sat down on it. I screamed and jumped forward. Hands grabbed my arms from behind. Cold. Too many. I fought and screamed, kicking and twisting, but they were strong. Stronger than they looked. Let me go, I cried. The woman stepped closer until her face was inches from mine. You're not being taken, she said gently. You're being kept. The hands released me suddenly. I fell to my knees, sobbing. The woman knelt in front of me. You can still choose, she said. I looked up at her. How? I asked. She pointed toward the basement. The house listens there, she said. It answers there. A loud thump echoed through the floor. From below. The basement door opened by itself. Cold air rushed up the stairs. The whispering began again, louder this time. Calling my name. Ruth. Ruth. I covered my ears. I don't want this, I cried. The woman stood and stepped back. Then go, she said. But listen carefully. The house groaned. The walls cracked slightly. The lights flickered. If you go down there, she continued, you may never come back. She leaned close and whispered the words that broke me. But if you don't, the house will come to you. The scratching from the closet stopped. The bedroom door flew open. The hallway filled with shadows. And from the basement below, something began to climb the stairs. The sound from the basement stairs was slow, heavy. One step at a time. Thump, scrape, thump. The house shook with each step, like it was breathing through the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered again, on and off, as if they could not decide whether to stay alive. I stood frozen in my bedroom doorway. I did not want to go down. But I was more afraid of what was coming up. The woman stepped back into the shadows, giving me space, like a mother letting a child make a dangerous choice. "Listen," she said calmly. "It's already awake." The whispers filled the hallway again. Not just voices now. Memories. Crying. Laughing. Screaming. All mixed together. I covered my ears, but it did not help. The sound was inside my head. I ran. I ran past the woman, past the shadows, past the walls that seemed to bend toward me. My feet hit the hallway floor hard as I rushed toward the stairs. The front door was right there. Freedom. I reached for it. I pulled. It did not move. I pulled again, harder. Locked. "No!" I screamed. The door handle burned my hand. I let go and fell backward. Behind me, the shadows filled the hallway. Ahead of me, the basement stairs waited. The sound from below was closer now. Faster. Like whatever was coming had smelled fear. The woman appeared beside me again. "You waited too long," she said softly. "I just want to leave," I cried. "I don't want this house. I don't want to hear anything ever again." She looked at me for a long moment. Then she said something that made my heart sink. "The house already knows you." A loud crack echoed from the ceiling. The lights went out again. This time, they did not come back on. The only light left came from the basement. A dull, yellow glow. Like a mouth opening. I stood up slowly. My legs felt weak, but they moved on their own. Step by step, I walked toward the basement stairs. The air grew colder with every step. The whispers grew quieter. Not gone. Just waiting. I stood at the top of the stairs and looked down. The basement was different now. Bigger. Deeper. The walls looked farther apart, like the room had stretched. At the bottom of the stairs stood the box. Open. And behind it, something tall. Too tall. Its shape did not look right. Its arms were too long. Its head brushed the ceiling. It did not have a clear face, only a dark space where a face should be. It tilted its head toward me. The house creaked happily. "You hear us," the thing said, its voice many voices at once. I shook my head. "I don't want to," I whispered. "But you do," it replied. "That's why you're here." I stepped down one stair. The wood groaned under my foot. Images filled my head. People standing in this same place. Crying. Begging. Listening. I saw the woman from the photo. I saw the child. I saw faces I did not know. All of them looking at me. All of them waiting. "What do you want?" I asked, tears running down my face. The thing raised one long arm and pointed at my chest. "You," it said simply. My chest tightened. "For what?" I cried. "To listen," it answered. "So we can rest." The box on the floor shook. The lid lifted higher. Inside, I saw more names. More notebooks. More photos. More lives. My name was already there. Written deeper than the others. The stairs behind me creaked. I turned. The woman stood at the top, watching. "You still have one chance," she said. "Choose." The thing stepped forward. The basement floor cracked under its weight. The whispers returned, louder than ever. Calling me. Begging me. I stood on the stair between light and dark. Between leaving and staying. And just as I opened my mouth to speak, something grabbed my wrist from inside the box. The hand that grabbed my wrist was not solid. It felt wrong. Cold and soft at the same time, like wet cloth wrapped around bone. Fingers dug into my skin, and I screamed as I tried to pull away. "Let me go," I cried. The hand tightened. Pain shot up my arm, sharp and burning. I fell forward onto the stairs, my knees hitting the wood hard. I kicked and twisted, but the grip would not break. From inside the box, a face slowly rose. A face that did not belong to one person. It changed as I looked at it. A woman's eyes. A child's mouth. An old man's skin. All pressed together, shifting like shadows. "You hear us," the face said softly. "So you carry us." "No," I screamed. "I don't want this." The thing behind the box stepped closer. The basement walls shook as it moved. Dust fell like snow. The house groaned, deep and low, like it was pleased. "You already started," the tall thing said. "The moment you listened." The hand pulled harder. I felt myself sliding down the stairs, closer to the box, closer to the dark. I grabbed the stair rail with my free hand. My fingers slipped, then caught. Pain tore through my shoulder, but I held on. "I won't," I cried through tears. "I won't stay here." The face in the box tilted its head. "You all say that," it whispered. Suddenly, the basement filled with sound. Not whispers. Not crying. Voices. Clear voices. Dozens of them. All speaking at once. I heard it first. "She didn't listen. It won't let us sleep. Please hear me." Images flooded my mind. I saw a woman rocking back and forth in this basement, her hands over her ears. I saw a man clawing at the door until his fingers bled. I saw the child, hiding behind the boxes, crying for a mother who never came. I screamed and squeezed my eyes shut. "Stop. Please stop." The hand loosened. Just a little. I took my chance. I pulled with everything I had. My skin burned as the fingers slipped. And then, I broke free. I tumbled backward up the stairs, gasping for air. I crawled away from the box, sobbing, my heart pounding like thunder. The voices screamed. Not in anger. In fear. "No. Don't leave. It will wake." The tall thing let out a sound that shook the walls. The basement light flickered wildly. On. Off. On. Off. The woman appeared beside me again, her face tense for the first time. "You should not have done that," she said sharply. I looked up at her, tears streaming down my face. "You said I had a choice." I screamed. "Yes," she replied. "But every choice has a price." The box began to shake violently. The lid slammed open and shut again and again. The stairs behind me started to crack. Wood split. Nails popped out. The house screamed. A loud, terrible scream that came from everywhere at once. The tall thing raised its arms. "We are losing you," it roared. "The house will not allow that." The walls began to move. Slowly. Closing in. The basement grew smaller, tighter, like a throat closing. I scrambled up the last few steps and reached the basement door. I grabbed the handle and pulled. It did not move. I pulled harder. Nothing. Behind me, the box tipped over. Photos spilled out across the floor. Notebooks opened. Pages flipped on their own. Every page showed my name now. Over and over. Written deeper. Darker. The woman's voice changed. It was no longer calm. "Listen to them," she shouted. "That's all the house wants. Just listen." The voices rose again, louder than ever. They were not whispering now. They were screaming. My head felt like it would split open. I pressed my hands to my ears, but the sound pushed through my skull. Then, silence. Everything stopped. The voices. The shaking. The movement. The basement went still. I stood frozen, my breath shaking. Slowly, the basement door unlocked. Click. I pulled it open and stumbled into the hallway, gasping for air. I slammed the door shut behind me and locked it. For a moment, nothing happened. I leaned against the wall, crying, my body weak. "I'm out," I whispered. "I'm out." Then I felt it. A pressure. Inside my head. A soft sound. Not outside. Not below. Inside me. Thump. Scrape. Thump. The same sound. Coming from my chest. And I realized with horror. The house was not finished with me. Because now. I could hear it even with my ears covered. The sound inside my chest would not stop. Thump. Scrape. Thump. It felt like something was moving behind my ribs, pressing gently, testing me. I fell to my knees in the hallway, gasping for air, my hands shaking as I pressed them against my chest. No, I whispered. Please, no. The house was quiet. Too quiet. No whispers. No shadows. No movement. Just me. And the sound. I forced myself to stand. My legs felt weak, but they obeyed. I walked slowly into the living room. Everything looked normal again. The couch. The table. The walls. No writing. No shadows. No signs of what had happened. I laughed softly, a broken sound. It's over, I said. It's finally over. The sound inside me slowed. For the first time I felt hope. I grabbed my keys from the table. My hands were steady now. I walked to the front door and unlocked it. Fresh air rushed in. Morning light spilled across the floor. I stepped outside. The sky was pale blue. Birds were singing. My neighbor's car was parked where it always was. The world was normal. I took a deep breath and smiled through tears. I'm free, I whispered. I walked down the steps and onto the sidewalk. Then I heard it. Behind me. From inside the house. Thump. Scrape. Thump. I froze. Slowly, I turned around. The front door was still open. Inside, the hallway stretched longer than it should have. Darker than it should have. And I heard something else now. Not whispers. Not crying. My own voice. Calling softly. Ruth. I backed away. No, I said. You don't get me. You don't own me. The sound inside my chest grew stronger. Pain bloomed behind my eyes. Images filled my head again. The woman. The child. The box. The notebook. The names. I understood then. The house did not need me to stay inside it. It needed me to leave. To carry it. To spread it. The sound slowed. Changed. It was no longer scraping. It was listening. I dropped my keys. Tears streamed down my face. I won't, I whispered. I won't listen anymore. The house groaned softly, like it was disappointed. The front door closed by itself. Slowly. Gently. The sound inside my chest faded. For a moment, there was silence. Real silence. I stood there for a long time, shaking, afraid to breathe. Then my phone vibrated in my pocket. I jumped and pulled it out. A notification. A voice message. From an unknown number. My hands shook as I stared at the screen. The message was only 3 seconds long. I pressed play. At first, there was nothing. Then, thump, scrape, thump. I dropped the phone. I ran. I did not look back. I moved away from that house. I moved to a new place. A bright place. A loud place. I keep music on all the time. I sleep with the TV playing. I never let the house be quiet. But sometimes, late at night, when everything is still, I hear it. Very soft. Very patient. Waiting for me to listen again. And now, as you sit there watching this story, as you remember that sound, if you enjoyed this emotional and terrifying story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another powerful story like this one. Also, tell me in the comments which part of the country you're watching from. I want to know who is here with me. Because once you hear it, it never really stops listening to you.